It says there that we are going to write equations for lines. And do you remember the other day when we first started talking about equations for lines? We had this. And a real equation for a line has the m and the b filled in with a number. The m tells us the slope of the line, how steep, if it's positive, negative, 0 is completely flat. M tells us what the slope of the line is. The b value, that tells us the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is this. Do you remember this set of coordinate planes? Do you remember when we talked about that? You do? What's the flat one called? Good, x-axis. And what's the up and down one? The y-axis. Well, this b value is the y-intercept. Intercept means where it crosses. So the y-intercept is, where does that line cross the y-axis? Crooked line for a Monday, sorry. There. Where does that line cross the y-axis? Well, this particular one, it crosses 2 units up, right? So today they are going to ask you to write an equation. You have not written equations yet, but today they're going to ask you to write the equation. And if you're going to write the equation, you need these two things. You need the slope and you need the y-intercept. Well, the first example, they give you both of those things, don't they? They give you the slope, they give you the y-intercept. All you have to do is plug those in. The slope goes there, the y-intercept goes there. So what's your equation then? Y equals 2x plus 3. And that's your equation. If they give you the slope and the y-intercept, there really is no work to show. You just plug them in. Isn't that easy? So that's the first thing. If they give you the slope, they give you the intercept, you just plug them in. They give you the y-intercept. The second kind of problem, they make your life a little more difficult. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Instead of giving you the y-intercept, now they give you the x-intercept. Well, you cannot just plug that in because this one is the y-intercept. So somehow we're going to have to figure out what the y-intercept is. They give us the slope still. We can just plug the slope right in. Y equals mx plus b. What's the slope? So you can take that slope and just plug it in right here. But somehow we need to figure out the b value, the y-intercept. How are we going to figure out the b? Well, I'll give you a hint. You're going to need to use this. What do you think an x-intercept is? Remember, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So what is the x-intercept then? Right, where it crosses the x-axis. And it says this one crosses the x-axis at 3. In other words, 3 units over, it crosses the x-axis. Well, here's the key to this one. If it crosses the x-axis 3 units over, what are the coordinates of that point? How many over? How many up? So there's the trick. They tell you the x-intercept is 3. So in other words, it crosses the point 3 over and 0 up. And by the way, remember this is an ordered pair. It's an x and a y. Guess what we're going to do with this x and y right here now? We're going to plug it in there. Remember the first section of the chapter when we plugged in x and y values? Well, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to plug in 3 for x. We're going to plug in 0 for y. What's y? What's x? And now, see that equation right there? The only variable it has is a b. So now you should be able to solve it, right? What's 2 times 3? So 6 plus b. If you want to get b by itself, what do you have to do? So what do you get? B equals? So now I've got the b value, I've got the slope. Now we should be able to just plug it in, right? Y equals mx plus b. What's my m again? 2. And what's my b value? -6. So there's your equation, right? So that one, there was a little bit more work because they didn't give you the b. You had to figure out the b. But not too hard. You take the x-intercept 3, 0, and plug that in for x and y. X is 3, y is 0, and you use that to figure out your b. Are we good so far? So, first problem, they gave us the m, they gave us the b. Second problem, they gave us the m, we had to figure out the b. Guess what the third problem is? They don't give you either. You have to figure out what both of those values are. Oh boy! Write the equation of a line. It gives you 2 points that it goes through. What do you think, Ethan Verzette? What are we going to do? Did you say find the slope? Because remember, if we're going to write the equation, oh, look at that nice purple. If we're going to find the equation for that line, we need to know what is the m and what is the b. They don't give us either. We have to figure both of those out. Well, luckily, didn't you just do an assignment where you had to calculate slope, y2 minus y1, right? So they give us 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And remember your formula. And if you don't remember it, I believe it's over there. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So can you plug those in, Angie? Right? I could if I was paying attention, right? Can you plug those in? What's y2? 8. Take away what's y1? Over, what's x2? Take away, be careful, you're subtracting -2. So what, Tano? Yes, it's +2 then. So 4 + 2 is 6. What do you get on top? 3. So I have 3 over 6, which is 1/2. And that's my slope. So I have y equals 1/2 x plus b. We're halfway there. What did we do over here when you had the slope? Connor, what'd you do over here when you had the slope? How'd you find the b? Yeah, you had to plug in an x and a y, right? If we have this slope, you have to have an x and a y to plug in to get the b. Over here, Ethan B, do I have an x and a y that I could plug in? Do I have any x and y pairs that I could plug in? Yes. Not only do I have one x and y pair, I actually have 2 x and y pairs. How do you decide which one to use? Which one should I use? Which one could I use? How about if you say either? You can pick either one. It doesn't matter which one you choose for your XY pair. Over here, we didn't have a choice. We had to use 3, 0. But for this one, you can pick whichever one you want. Brendan C., which one do you want? Do you want -2,5 or 4,8? 2,5? -2,5. So x is -2, y is 5. Go over here, right here. What did we just say? X is -2, y is 5. So what are we going to plug in for y? 5. 1/2. What's x? Negative. Can I do -2 over 1? Like that? Now solve it for b. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is, see this 1/2 times -2 over 1? Can I cross off the 2 on bottom with the 2 on top? So what does this end up being? All of this? -1. How do you get b by itself? Yeah, if you want b by itself, you have to get rid of the -1. How do you get rid of a -1?
Add 1.
Yes, add 1, add 1. So b equals 6. What do I do to finish her up? Remember this? What do I do to finish her up? Rosette, what do I do to finish her up? Plug them in. Plug what in? What's the m? We figured out the m. It was 1/2. What's the b? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Do you have questions? Are there any questions? So today I am on page 372. Page 3, 7, 2. I have WE 1 to 58. 1 to 58.
1 to 21.
Oh, right. Right.
158.